Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today we're going to talk about perfumes that put us in a mood. And I've been asking myself this question, and actually something happened to me the other day that made me ask myself this question. We're going to get to that situation. This background has a little bit something to do with it, but I was asking my question, do perfumes always put me in a good mood, or does sometimes smelling fragrances put me in a melancholic mood or sad mood, or maybe even angry? And because usually I hunt out perfumes and I wear perfumes and I think about, oh, which perfume I'm going to wear today in connection to how I already feel. And so basically, a perfume enhances my state of being, my mood, my energy, right? But sometimes we perchance encounter people when we're out and about and they have and they are wearing a perfume that kind of sends us down a trajectory. And can that trajectory be a negative one, or is it always a positive one? In other words, do perfumes always instigate positive vibes or not always? Well, let's get to it. First, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. Thank you for everybody who has already pledged. Um, Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. So here we are in a cozy scenario. I prompted my AI bubbles to generate a supermarket of sorts, and I wanted it to have that old school vibe, late 70s, early 80s. Look at this. This is the floor as well. Let me move more to the side. And the outside, we don't know. Is it sunny? What are these roots? Is it snowing? We don't know if it's winter, if it's spring. It can be any time of the year, really. And so lovely. But I did not want it to be a perfumery. I wanted a supermarket setting because actually, what happened to me just the other day happened in a supermarket. And so I was walking around collecting all the giblets that I needed, to buy. I'm usually snacks, food. I tried to do some healthy stuff as well. They had some strawberries. I got some strawberries. I got mandarins. I got some tahini wraps, the vegan kind. Then I also found some really interesting chips, crackers. And then as I was walking towards the lemons, I can't remember anymore if it was the person that I saw first, or was it the perfume that I smelled first. Now I know that we usually say, you always smell a person first before you see them, and this does not apply necessarily to the perfume that they sprayed on. It's not like you smell that perfume first. No, sometimes well, it is said, it is believed that you smell subconsciously, you smell their pheromones, their hormones, their hormonal balance or imbalance, right? So we kind of first smell each other on that subconscious level, and then we see the person, and then we smell the perfume that they sprayed on. So I don't know really if this particular person, if I have seen them first, or if I have smelled their hormonal levels first, or if I have smelled their actual sprayed on fragrance first. But I remember visually seeing this woman dressed late 70s, early 80s style. Um, she had a very specific style, and she was in her 30s, I want to say. Longer hair. She had a very light dress on that it was completely backless. So in the front, she had the strap, like cross strap to cover the bosom, and then she would, there was a little knot in the back to tie it together. But then from the knot all the way to the bottom of the back, it was like completely bare. And then the skirt or the dress kind of fell further, covered the knee, just covered the knee, and then the legs were bare, and then she had that really, really nice sandal with a heel, but there was no pointy heel. It was kind of a sort of a wedge. Strappy sandal, very 70s. Now, she was a whole vibe, like a whole vibe. But then the perfume struck me. And here's where I was kind of surprised because I loved the visual. The visual was gorgeous. She was on the phone. That was a little bit annoying because, and actually, when I arrived to the supermarket, she was already there. I was there for a while. I left. I paid. I did everything I had to do. She was still in the supermarket. Like, she took her time and she never put down that phone. She was not loud, though. You could just hear from time to time, yeah, and then she said this. I know, how could she? It's like, very, so she wasn't overbearing or overpowering, but she never left the phone and she was kind of browsing through. And interestingly enough, she was looking at stuff in the same aisle as I was. So like if I were, if she was like looking here, I was like looking there. So, and then I saw something there that I needed to check out, and she came there as well and was checking something out. So in this shopping experience, we crossed paths on that day a few times in the supermarket, and I was looking at her and I was thinking, oh, that style, that 70s, 80s style. And then the perfume hit me. And the perfume was a Chypre. And first I was like, oh my God, I know this perfume. And I was obsessively trying to remember which, when that happens, when somebody passes by you and you catch a whiff of their fragrance and you know that fragrance, but you can't remember the name. That's what happened to me. So I was like, oh my God, this is a 70s, late 70s, early 80s Chypre. I know this smell from history, from the past so well. But what is it? So at first, I was pleasantly surprised that she took care of herself enough to wear, a vintage perfume, and the perfume really matches the outfit. It felt like she came out of an episode of Dallas, before Dynasty came on. It was more of a Dallas vibe, like Pamela type of style. And I really felt like she came out of a movie or a TV show. I mean, it was amazing. But then that smell, that perfume started becoming annoying because maybe it was reformulated and watered down, Something about the dry down was screechy to me and it was really annoying. And what in the beginning appeared to me to be a vibe and a positive vibe and a great memory and a travel through time, as time was passing, that perfume became cloying and annoying. And the more cloying and annoying it began, the more I remembered it, right? Like, what perfume is it? And all of a sudden, that moody late 70s, early 80s atmosphere that I was feeling in that supermarket, the supermarket also had a little bit of this type of vibe, vintagey touch. The more I was smelling the perfume and the more I was like, I have to leave. This is not good. It's it's bad. It's a bad chemical smell. It's like one of those synthetics that in the dry down, you just feel they've used some cheap ingredient. It doesn't hit that note, latest in the dry down if a perfume is good or not. And then I started asking myself, how does she live with this? Like, how does she perceive this smell? It must be soothing to her because, I mean, why would she be wearing so much of it? On the upside, I was still pleasantly surprised by the fact that still to this day, there are perfumes that do deliver quite a bit of projection and longevity because obviously I'm envisioning she put the perfume on. This scene played out around 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 3:30 p.m. So I would imagine that she put on the perfume that morning when she left her home, or latest around noon. So she already had the perfume on at least 4 to 6 hours, and it was still projecting. But we were smelling the dry down. By now, it was very clear to me that what I was smelling was the dry down, not the top notes. Um, so she was living with this fragrance for a couple of hours, and obviously she loves it if she sprays it on every day. And I think to myself, how can she think that this smells good? You see, now, and then of course it hits me how everybody has a different perception of what is good, of what smells good, and what doesn't. So possibly her body chemistry, the hormonal aspect of her character combined with that fragrance enhanced that hormonal smell that did not match mine. And I found it so interesting because I was intrigued by it, but annoyed at the same time. And that led me to think about the situations where maybe you go on your first date and the person you're meeting, maybe you met first online, so you didn't get a chance to smell them. And then you meet up and they seem to be really nice, but the smell is just not right. And you don't know, is it the perfume or is it their hormonal balance that just doesn't, their hormones don't match yours? It's kind of like Mother Nature gave us this instinct where subconsciously it is believed, allegedly, that hormonal smell that we perceive subconsciously from a person in front of us, kind of our body reacts to it and tells us immediately, oh, this could be a good match of genes, like the genetic pool between you two could be something good for progressing humanity. If you were to do a little something together, this might work well for your offspring. And if the DNA constellation, the genetic pool between you and that person in front of you doesn't really work well together for whatever reason, your body's gonna, it is believed, tell you like they smell off to you. Don't be attracted to that person. Like basically attraction begins with smell, they say, right? So I was thinking to myself, I was attracted by her and her aura and everything, but then the smell was off. And I thought to myself, what is this telling me? Is it just the perfume that's off, or is it also that subconscious genetic pool, hormonal smell delivery that's not matching mine? And then I started thinking to myself, because of course I'm always drenched in perfume as well when I'm out and about. And I had an interesting mix yesterday. I wore Comet, and we're almost empty here. I got to buy a new one again. So I had a big base of Comet and then New Look, Dior's New Look, right? That aldehydic bomb with incense, and they work quite well together. The aldehydes in Chanel with the aldehydes in New Look. And then that frankincense in New Look with the heliotrope, very fast, not for the faint-hearted, but I started thinking to myself, I wonder if my body's telling me that we're not the right match, what is her body telling her? Is she smelling me too? Is she annoyed by my smell? Did I put her in a weird mood? Of course, she was still on the phone. It's not like it's not like she stopped talking to her friend and said, oh my God, I gotta hang up. Like, there's this guy, he smells disgusting. I'm gonna pay now and I'm gonna leave. None of that. In fact, I left before her, but I left with this thought in my mind. Like, I have this vision of her, the dress, how it fit her, how she walked with the wedge heel, strappy sandal, backless, the whole vibe, and then that smell, which ruins it. But then it doesn't really ruin it, because I think to myself, the whole vibe she was giving off was like late 70s, early 80s, a time long gone. That perfume is also long gone. There's decay in the air around her. not physical decay, but, well, then I thought to myself, well, maybe something is off with her. Maybe she has some health issues. And I'm smelling that also through the perfume. I mean, it sent me off on a tangent, and I was thinking for hours and hours. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a video about this. Like, do perfumes have really that power to put us in a mood? Not necessarily a good mood. And I think my answer to that question is yes. Uh, but not for the reasons you might think, right? Like sometimes you're working in the office and your colleague is wearing a really annoying perfume, right? That just really irritates you. And I'm looking at you, Flancas of Baccarat Rouge from Maison Francis Courjean, like it's a very popular fragrance. It's been duped to nausea, and a lot of people wear the dupes, and I mean, you can't. Terrible. And, but this was different. This was not just, your colleague at work is annoying because they occupy so much space. You're sitting nearby their desk or their office, and you get those wafts of that synthetic trash. This is different. It wasn't a trashy smell, but it was just the more I smelt it, right, and the more it became green, acidic, pungent, chypre. Um, what was it? It had a smidge of anise anise. It could have been something from Revlon. Maybe it was Charlie even. Or was it, maybe it was Gloria Vanderbilt. Maybe it was the Vanderbilt, the Gloria with the swan, something. Or was it Van Cleef Arpels? What was it? First. Do you remember First? Or was it Lumiere? Do you remember Lumiere with that gorgeous lilac-y stopper that looked like a multifaceted diamond? It was somehow in that category. Smidge of Anais from Cacharel as well. It was that type of family, which actually I love, So I was kind of surprised that it didn't work for me in that moment. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. But it left this lingering aura around me, this mood. And well, truth be told, it hasn't happened in a while that a person with the way that they present themselves in combination with the perfume that they're wearing and the clothes that they're wearing really leaves such a lasting impression on me. Not for the best, but also not for the worst. Like I'm completely sure that we were not a match, but I was attracted to her. Like I felt like, oh wait, but something about her smell is a challenge to me. It was challenging, but moody. It would probably end up in disaster. But I thought, ooh, that's a drama I want to watch. That's a TV show I want to watch. Do I want to be a part of? Do I want to be cast? I like a cat. Do I want to be a character in that TV show? I don't know. I want to watch it though. I want to watch this scenario play out, So they met in the grocery store, the perfume triggered it all, and I really don't know why I didn't have the guts. Probably because I didn't like the smell too much, so I didn't have the guts to go up to her and ask her, like, oh, what perfume are you wearing? I mean, I'm not the type of person. I would never, in general, because I really don't like when people do that to me. Also, because usually people do that to you when they're like, oh, I love your perfume, what are you wearing, right? They don't ask you what are you wearing when they don't like the perfume, but the perfume was intriguing enough to make me want to know more. And it just set the tone. I don't know what this video was all about. Storytelling? The date that could have been. Could you imagine? Um, do you have any stories like that to share? Let me know. I mean, it's a different approach to perfume talk and perfume videos in general. I mean, usually what do? We do reviews of fragrances. That's what you do when you have a perfume channel. Then you do lists of perfumes, for certain occasions, like the top 5 perfumes for this, top 5 perfumes for that, top perfumes of the month, of the season, what were the best releases in the year. Like there's all of that. But then we rarely talk about these slightly off-center topics, where fragrances instigate a train of thought and an emotion. But, we're not necessarily sitting here reviewing them. I'm not necessarily sitting here lifting up bottles of fragrances I'm reviewing, telling you, use my coupon link. Also, I'm trying to this year to minimize perfume spending. I want to be more sustainable. I want to be more reasonable when it comes to fragrances. We don't need so many, and I'm not really a big fan of content creators on YouTube kind of just churning out a ton of review videos of brand new releases that they maybe got sent for free. More power to them if they did by the brands. But then they're like, buy this is great, buy this. And then you get influenced. You keep buying and buying and buying, but then you never really get a chance to enjoy and use these perfumes. I'm thinking to myself, there must be another way that we can find an approach to fragrances and talking about fragrances without constantly always like showing, here's the newest release, this is what I think about it, I'm the first one that reviewed it online and nobody else did it before I did. There's this weird competition. It's so annoying. And I think perfumes are so poetic and there's like so much more to them, and we can talk about them without necessarily um always just reviewing said bottle and trying to sell it to you. So let me know if you enjoy this type of fragrance content, something new, you know, trying out new directions, trying to find out new ways of talking about fragrances that hasn't been utilized yet, a path that hasn't been walked on yet. We're entering kind of new territories here, and why not? Perfumes are much more than just a mere classification of these are the notes, top notes, mid notes, base notes. This is the longevity. This is the silage. This is the projection. Um, there's more to perfumes than that. There's stories. There's things that they inspire us. What's the mood? What's the tone? I always wear a perfume when I'm feeling a certain type of way, right? But what happens when somebody else approaches you and they're wearing a perfume that doesn't match your mood that day at all, like that lady had? What happens then? Do we reject it completely or do we try to go with it? I tried to go with it. And it took me places. It was a fascinating place to be. I felt like I watched a good TV show for the 20 minutes that I was there in the supermarket. And then for the other 20, 30 minutes later when I left, that kind of kept me thinking. I was entertained. A fragrance with a mysterious, lovely lady, in combination with a mysterious, lovely lady, delivered over an hour of inspired amusement, I want to say. Did that ever happen to you? Let me know your thoughts down below. I know there's a lot to kind of unpack in this video, but let me know your thoughts down below. And have you ever experienced a situation like this where random person you encountered while you were shopping out and about, whatever, person that you don't know, wearing a certain perfume that kind of just completely sent you on a tangent, on a movie, on a film trip? Let me know. Thumb up this video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe. Thank you so much, guys. Never give up on fragrant love. Bye.